What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's Top 3. Today we're going to be taking a look at 3 recently released hot decks in the playing card community. Some might be cardistry decks, some might be magic decks, but they're all some of our favorites this week, so we definitely implore you to check them out. But before we jump into it, why don't you go ahead and click that like button and subscribe to the channel.
And don't forget to ring the bell.
Steve, I gotta say, man, I'm actually really excited about this week. I was not expecting the order that we went with here. I feel like we opened a sleeper this week with number 1, and I'm really excited to get to it. But it's going to take us a little bit to get there, so why don't you roll in and tell us what number 3 is this week?
Coming in at 3 is the Grid Patreon Edition, version 1. It is the GPE1 by Luke Wadey. It is printed by Catamundi on their Slimline B9 stock, and it is a print run of only 200.
Super exclusive.
Yeah, and I think it retailed for around $25.
Not too bad there. I always love a good Luke Wadey deck, and you know what? He deserves to be in the top 3 every week that he comes out with something fun, so let's check this thing out.
Definitely. As you can see in Luke Wadey fashion, it is a pretty standard tuck box. Very beautiful, and Luke is amazing at his typography skills, and Grid being one of my favorite series, I'm super excited that he came out with this one. It has blue in it.
Dude, that blue is spectacular too. It looks like a neon glowing blue.
Yeah, it really is. Opening it up, and the color of the cards on the back design is, I don't want to say it's dark blue, but it's kind of like a midnight. It's not totally black, but it's, has a little blue tint to it, and that nice blue shadow in there is beautiful.
It's really good.
Yeah, it handles great being Catamundi. Super simple back design. It does fan in 2 different ways. As you can see, it does have that G spread, I guess you can call it. And if you fan it the other way, it has this like blue outline on the outside, which kind of looks like the moon in a way.
It's almost like a neon glow too, like a tracer. I love both those fans though. Just the style of them and the variation of them are beautiful. A lot of times with like dual fans, they look similar but different colors. These are like starkly different.
Yeah. There's some duplicate jokers, and one thing I love about the Grid series decks is there's so much style on the front of the cards. There's different areas where you can see what the card is. You have your 9 of spades, and up top it says 9 of spades, and then you have NISP. It just honestly takes me a couple times to see how many different ways he has it labeled on the card, which I think is really cool.
I love it. Dude, it's that stripe on the side too. Like, is that just like a random stripe, or does that have meaning to it too? Because I was gonna say that would be really cool if the value was also converted, and I think it might be, on those lines on the side.
Yeah, I just don't know how it equates, because there's not just 13 lines. You know what I mean? So I wonder if there's, I don't know how that equates. It'd be cool if anybody knows.
If anybody knows,
Luke
Wadey, comment down below and let us know how that works, man.
Yeah, but I really love how, that central, actually all the central pips really kind of overshadow the indice number.
Now, the interesting thing about it, and taking a look here, you know what I actually think it is? I think you have 52 different lines there, and it's counting through the deck. I may be wrong, but that's kind of what it looked like going through it there. I love how clever Luke makes his decks, especially the Grid series. This, I think, for anyone who isn't familiar with Luke's work, coming across any of the Grid series decks is pretty hard to do now, but they are an absolute fan favorite. I personally am a huge fan of the Mono series, but Grid comes in a very close second to me.
Yeah, and this is my favorite Grid by far out of the all. Obviously it's blue, but I love that pink too. Those 2 contrasting colors look awesome.
He did a really good job with it, and I love the fact that that blue, the colors in general, they do have that neon vibe to it, which I think when you do that first fan where it has that outer glow, it's just gorgeous. Those are going to look great for cardistry, and I think one of the interesting things about it is, to date, Luke is still one of the most slept on cardistry deck designers. I think everyone sees them as very collector oriented, which to me, they're almost, they're collectible, but to me, they're more so just such a cardistry deck because they have minimalism but very specific elements that are meant to enhance cardistry visuals.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to wake up when that new Arrow V2 comes out.
I cannot wait for that thing, or even for the other RPM to drop as well.
Yeah, no, that's going to be exciting.
An absolutely awesome deck, but let's hear what's coming in at number 2 this week, Steve.
Number 2, I am very biased about. I have to admit that. That might be a little reason why I came in at number 2. It was a tight one, but number 2 is the Shooters card by Matt Fujiwara and Dutch Card
Nice.
House. Really cool collaboration between the two of them. It is the limited edition. It is a print run of 1,000 by USPCC. It is on premium stock, no crushed, and it is retailing for about $16.
Nice, man. Let's check this thing out.
I am in love with everything about this. It is based off of the Canon lenses. If you're a photographer and you use Canon, or even if you don't use Canon, you know what this symbolizes. The tuck box is white matte. It has beautiful red foil and black foil on it that does shimmer in the light. There's your ad copy on the bottom. Now, the thing with this tuck, it should have a black band around it, but I know there was a little mishap in that, so I'm not sure if they're going to correct that. Is your back design, which has a bunch of different symbols that are seen in the tools section of the camera. They do have two different versions. They have a white and a black. The standard version is the white, but me loving white decks, I had to go with that white.
Yeah, it is a good looking deck, dude. It's so clean. I love that red border around the outside as well.
Yeah, it handles beautifully being USPCC. It does come with 3 duplicate jokers, which I thought was kind of strange, but cool
Interesting.
nonetheless. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's like that camera dial. I like how it spells out Joker kind of broken up like that.
I like that. Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah, and here is your Ace of Spades, which is kind of, when you're looking through that viewfinder, that's kind of the elements that you get with that center frame for the focal point.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's pretty standard across the deck. You do have all the colors pulled out for the black suits, and you have just this gray and black coloring. It is very monochromatic, but I like the way the black looks. It looks nice and sleek.
Yeah. Full-size pip there's as well on the aces, which is great with a little bit of the like targeting mark in the center there, which I love.
Yeah, the focal frames, that's good. And then you have, for the red suits, you have just black and red coloring.
Yes, dude, they really did keep this simple, but it works so well, especially because if you really think about it, a camera is such a simple but complex device at the same way, just like a deck of playing cards is, and I love that they brought that Canon vibe to this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it kind of keeps the Nikon users from purchasing it maybe, but there's always this love-hate relationship between Nikon and Canon. But for the most part, it's a beautiful camera deck, and it is definitely an everyday magician's deck. That's the reason why it was created the way it was, but I loved it.
Well, you know what, and let's be honest here, just like every Nikon user will one day realize that they should have gotten a Canon camera, they'll all realize that one day they should have gotten this deck as well.
That's totally true. You have a good point there, buddy.
I absolutely love the way that Matt pulled that through. And honestly, for anyone who's not familiar with Matt's work, definitely check out his Instagram down below. Matt is a great member of the community. He's also an avid photographer. That's his career. So for him to make a photography deck was obviously an inevitable thing. And he's made some really interesting kind of like homespun decks in the past. So this was a natural progression for him to work such a powerhouse like Dutch Card House and make an awesome mass-produced deck. So I'm really excited to see how well that turned out. In spite of the little tuck snafu and all things considered, it actually still looks pretty cool in white.
Yeah, I think it looks slick, and obviously being a Canon user and having the lens that, mimics the tuck box, I still kind of like it without that black border around it. It's still sharp.
It looks really clean, honestly, as much as the black would have looked good as well, and it would have been more true to the style of mimicking the camera lens itself. The white almost looks cleaner.
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. I definitely, I'm impressed either way.
No doubt, man, no doubt. So we got a real fun one coming out today, man. This deck actually just dropped yesterday. I'm really excited for number 1 here. Coming in at number 1 this week, we have the Jungle deck from Card Cuts. This deck is printed by USPCC on their premium crush stock. It is part of an unspecified print run. Actually retails for $13, but they currently have it on sale on their site for I think like $11.30, which is an absolute steal for a crushed stock deck. Absolutely love this thing. Card Cuts, I think, really comes out with some really interesting ideas recently. Very abstract styling, so let's check this thing out here.
Do it.
So first deck in their Summer 2021 collection here. You can see the standard ad copy on the bottom, and then a big 2021 Summer Collection Jungle, and again, that 2021 Summer Collection on the sides there. You can see this is a very abstract jungle theme. The one thing that stood out to me from the jump is I think they actually reversed where the front and the back should have been, because I always consider the tuck flap like thumb hole, the back, but that's where the title was on this one. That in mind, that's probably my biggest critique of this entire deck. I have a beautiful, fun back design, which mimics the tuck box as well. Being USPCC Crush stock, obviously it fans and handles like a dream. Really cool dual jokers here. And then you have this kind of styling that's similar to the back design in the ace itself, but you also have custom indices and pips throughout this entire deck, which is something I was not expecting when I first opened it. I legitimately opened this expecting it to be relatively standard throughout, but they really went above and beyond this one to make these custom court cards, which again are not people, and I know sometimes people get a little turned off by non-humanoid court cards, but I think they did a really fun job carrying that abstract jungle-esque theme to all of the court cards here.
Yeah, you know what I'd like to, I would have liked to see in a little bit more shape of people, just a tad bit, rather than such abstract, and then maybe pulling out some of those eyes in those pips and just maybe randomly putting them in one or something.
Well, I have to say too, the clubs I had to highlight there because I love the color in it, similar to the blue we saw in the Grid Patreon edition. A very vibrant neon-esque blue highlights the pips on the clubs, which I absolutely love. My favorite suit in this deck, no question about it. They also have a double backer and their traditional ad card, which they always have in here, which is a standard back design with the neon blue and their logo in the front. That fan is just gorgeous looking with the blue and the orangey red on it. It really pops. It has such a summer vibe to it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, summer edition.
I had to flip it around the right way there just so you could see the little title on it. But to me, like I said, that was the one thing that stood out. Is I think all things considered, it probably should have been flipped which side said jungle on it and everything. Because I remember actually when I was running through the deck and filming it, I thought to myself, oh yes, someone who finally laid out all of the text so it reads correctly as I'm flipping the box around. And then I held up the back and I was like, oh, they got me. So absolutely love the deck, though. It was a really fun design to it and really genuinely surprised me. Again, I went into it expecting it to be relatively standard. I like the way they went about doing the custom courts. Like you said, though, Steve, you know, seeing a little more humanoid shape to it would have been really interesting. Actually, I think even an alternative there would have been standard courts with all of the garments done in, like, the colors of the back design to make them very kind of, like, summery, but that also could have run the risk of being a little too 80s. But absolutely fun deck right there. And, of course...
Yeah, it definitely is fun.
They did a great job with it.
No, I agree. It kind of reminds me of the Dabs Mila deck.
It really does, especially from the color point of view. I think they did some really interesting work with the colors they picked out. And all things considered, it's interesting to see how hard colors are for a deck, but how you can have such different colors and have it still look great.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they hit a home run with this one.
Absolutely, man. No surprise there. Card cuts is always fun to bring some stuff out of it. But I have to say, definitely a fun week here, and as everybody knows, this is now the favorite part of the show. Today we have our new comment shout-out winner, and this week's comment shout-out winner is Jason Solis. You can check out his comment right down below, and for everyone else watching, make sure to comment your favorite deck this week down below, because you may just be next week's comment shout-out winner. And while we're at it, make sure to let us know what decks you're excited for that you didn't see on this week. Maybe we'll take a look at them on next week's episode.
Bye.